Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I found a great piece here on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee's website, and I wanted to share it with you because I think sometimes we lose track of things and we don't give ourselves the credit that we should. And look, I get it. It's a selfless service, and we tend to view everything from a team perspective, and it's us, not I type of a mindset. But in some cases, there's a little bit of I in it, right? We are solid individuals as well. And I will tell you this, before I read into this piece from the Senate committee there, we were already an amazing group of individuals prior to joining the military. It takes it's a small amount, right? And it takes a lot to sign that dotted line, understanding clearly what the possibilities are. Now, granted, we get pretty much zero control as we move forward, but the risks are there, and really when you dial into certain MOSs, even more so. So, or AFSCs. So with that, I want to throw out a very special thank you to Scary Larry Games. Scary Larry Games, I love it. Thank you for the super comment, super chat. I really do appreciate your support very much. Scary Larry Games, I appreciate you. All right, so jumping into it here, Chairman Moran, this came out, I believe it was October 30th. Yeah, October 30th, and I've kind of been skipping over it, but I figured I better talk about it because I think it's a great thing. So Chairman Moran goes here. There is significant demand for the skill set, integrity, and moral values of a soldier and members of our military. Now, obviously, soldier is a blanket term, means everybody, right? Airman, Guardian, Sailor, Marine, Coastie. I don't know. Coastie? Is that, I don't know. That's what I always call you guys, Coasties. So I don't know. I don't know if there's another word. I'm pretty sure it's not sailor because the Navy kind of took that one. So in any case, I agree, right? In today's world, and most of us are old enough here in this group to go, wow, when I have to be somewhere at a specific time, I show up. And I stay till the job's done, or I know that they're going to kick me out because, whatever regulations and so forth, that I can't stay. But that is becoming less and less common, I think, with the very, very, very younger generation where, they want more and more flexibility, where we aren't used to that amount of flexibility. And so we get it. We understand the mission. And if you can align the organizational mission with yourself, we can become very, very effective. We're definitely trainable. We've been trained to be trainable individuals, and we have a lot to offer in that aspect. So let's read through this and see what they say here. Senator Jerry Moran, chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, yesterday led a committee hearing with the Department of Veterans Affairs Inspector General, Government Accountability Office, and veterans and representatives from the great organization, the PVA, Paralyzed Veterans of America, also Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, and DAV, another great organization. They're all great, Veterans of Foreign War. VFW, DAV, and PVA are some of the greatest organizations. There's obviously more that are also great, but these are some of the great ones as well. So with Disabled American Veterans, about how to improve VA's disability benefits system following recent reporting from the Washington Post. If you've been watching me for any amount of time, you already know how I feel about all of that. I think it's all garbage, and I think that it's all spun, and I think that it's a very broad brush for a very minute, microscopic percentage of dirtbags. And to paint us all that way is a horrific disservice. And quite frankly, they're shaming veterans. All right, so moving on. It says, during the hearing, representatives from the veteran service organizations discussed their disapproval with the Washington Post's reporting, which stated that veterans are swamping VA with dubious disability claims. Witnesses and committee members also discussed how the disability benefits system could be strengthened and improved to empower veterans who experienced service-connected disabilities and better position them to succeed after their military service. Witnesses agreed, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this after we get done. It's almost done. So witnesses agreed that better efforts to connect veterans with fulfilling employment opportunities that build upon the skills veterans deployed or developed while serving in uniform is a key aspect to those efforts. I'll talk more in a minute. There's the quotation here. There's a lot of things that the VA is entrusted to do and should be doing to help veterans find meaningful employment, said Senator Moran. I saw where a group of Fort Riley soldiers were about to end their time of military service, spent time in Wichita with the aviation aircraft companies, learning about opportunities for their future. There is a significant demand for the skill set, integrity, and moral values of a soldier and members of our military, yet we may not be taking sufficient advantage of the opportunities that a person who is leaving military service can provide. Senator Moran will convene a next hearing Wednesday, November 5th, about strategies to maximize veteran success after military service. And this is followed up with this was the one with Dr. Gade, retired lieutenant colonel, who we had on the channel. If you didn't see the live, check that out. And also watch the hearing as well. Here's the thing. We're seeing consistent messaging here. And anytime you start seeing consistent messaging, usually that can be viewed as a barometer of impending change, if you will. And so what does that mean, though? Okay, so Lieutenant Colonel retired Daniel Gade's version is really you should get rid of the majority of VA disability compensation and do not pay veterans for them, and instead invest that money into resources and job placement services and all that type of stuff, and get them into a good job. And then that's his solution. So although they're not saying that in this little piece here, what they are saying is the opportunities to leverage for a better employment opportunity, right? So what happens in Congress? Let's think about it for a second. When the congressional members have visits from the Good Idea Fairy, then they put something together and then they go, okay, how are we going to pay for that? Well, we can offset the costs of that by reducing the payments of this, much like Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Gade was suggesting. Now, do I agree with it? No, not 1 ounce, for multiple reasons. The first reason I'm going to say here, I'm going to start it with this. This is not a VA problem. And it's even kind of written in this piece here. This is a DOD problem, where if you want to really fix this, you need to swim upstream into the DOD. And look, I don't know what it looks like. Here's an example of what you could do. Everything costs money. It is what it is. What you do is you add an extra 2 or 3 months to every contract. And those last 2 or 3 months aren't really military. Like, you dress in civilian clothes. You go to workshops. You go to job fairs. You have some sort of a coach that you're assigned to that you have to check in with and let them know what you're doing. And polishing up your skills and interview practice and helping to apply for jobs, all of that stuff. Another thing that could be happening is a better utilization pull-through rate, if you will, for things like SkillBridge, right? Instead of commanders saying, no, you can't go, I need you here, they need to be saying, yes, go. It's going to help you with your future. In addition, the federal government needs to really revamp their incentive program for employers that employ veterans, right? If they have incentive, right, they're more apt. And really, on top of that, they need to enforce, and I'm going to pull this up because I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. But if you have major contracts with the federal government, you as an entity are supposed to carry, I believe it's like a 6% military/veteran workforce. And if you don't, then you need to show your efforts to sustain that, which is why you see all of these big companies at job fairs on military bases, because this is part of their effort to hire military. But if they made it a more stringent requirement, then those organizations would be pulling on people to get those contracts and training them on the job, bridging the gap if there is a gap. Those are the types of things that we need to be doing upstream, not talking about, oh, the VA needs to do this, the VA needs to do that, cut VA compensation. That's all after the fact. That's noticing a leak in the oil ship and you just leave it, and then later on you come and clean up all the oil. That's stupid. Go patch the leak. The leak is in the DOD. Fix it there. That's where the problem lies. I'm going to pull up those numbers real quick, see if I could find them. All right, so here's something I just pulled up, and it says here, national benchmark. The U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs publishes a new national veteran hiring benchmark annually for contracts signed on or after July 30th, 2025. The national benchmark is 5.1%. So, I already know there's a lot of companies that don't have 5% veteran population. So, instead of allowing loopholes out of that, enforce it. Enforce it. It's going to force the companies to take people on that are close to meeting the criteria or equal in criteria, but for some other reason they're hiring somebody else. And it's going to force them to bring on the veteran population, and if there's a gap to be bridged, they will then bridge that gap internally. Why? Because they want the government contract. Okay, it's that simple. So with that, I'd love to get your thoughts if you hung on. I'm trying not to go too long. It's already 13 minutes. Thank you so much for all your support. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.